archive stories, the kind whispered between floors, passed down in break rooms or left behind in places no one cleans anymore. Some are just rumors, some come with evidence.
I'd only been at the firm for a few weeks. New job, new building, trying to make a good impression. So when the team lead asked for someone to stay behind and tidy up the monthly report, I said yes. Of course I did. It was one of those glass office blocks near the city center. 9 floors of steel, buzzwords, and designer suits. Open plan. Cold lighting. By 7:30 p.m., everyone was gone. Even the HR people who usually hung around just to spy on the rest of us. The silence was sharp. Just the low whir of printers in sleep mode and the pop of the vending machine coil resetting itself. Somewhere out near the reception, a cleaner's cart squeaked. I kept working. Numbers, charts, graphs. Then I heard it. A soft clatter, like something knocked off a desk. I called out, but no one answered. I assumed it was the cleaners, or my imagination. I shrugged it off. The lights buzzed louder as the sun dropped behind the skyline. At one point, I noticed my mouse had moved, just slightly. I hadn't touched it. The pointer hovered over an empty cell in the spreadsheet. It had been filled in red. Odd, but I ignored it and got back to work. A few minutes later, I felt something. A chill. Sudden and sharp, brushing across the back of my neck. I spun in my chair. The windows were shut. I checked the thermostat. Aircon was on, but set to warm. No vents near me, no open doors, and yet it felt like someone had leaned in and exhaled. I rubbed the back of my neck and tried to laugh it off. Stress, maybe. Needing a break, I got up and walked to the kitchenette, but when I got there, all the cupboard doors were wide open, every single one. Hanging like mouths, some slightly tilted, others creaking on loose hinges. I hadn't heard them open. I hadn't seen anyone walk past. The fridge door was ajar too, humming softly. It felt wrong, like something had rifled through the place. I closed each door slowly, one by one. The last one resisted a little, like something behind it was pushing back. I didn't open it to check what was inside. I made my way back to my desk, half hoping the screen would show an error message and give me an excuse to go home. But the spreadsheet was still open. The cursor blinked, waiting. The room seemed even quieter now, as if the building itself were holding its breath. Then I heard it, a dragging sound. Something scraping faintly against the carpet. It came from one of the rows of cubicles behind me. I turned my head slowly. Nothing moved. But the sound came again, longer this time, like a heavy chair being pulled across the floor by someone too weak to lift it. Then I felt it again. The breath. Cold, right against my neck. Before I could turn around, the lights above me buzzed, and the computer screen fuzzed into static for a few seconds before snapping back to the spreadsheet. I stood up fast. My chair bumped against the wall behind me. That was enough. I grabbed my bag. Time to leave. I stopped at the toilets on the way out. A habit. Motion lights clicked on as I walked in. Too slow. The delay made the dark feel heavier. The air smelled like disinfectant and something faintly metallic. I washed my hands, stared into the mirror, and there he was. A man, maybe 40, pale, hair wet, shirt soaked in something dark. Shards of glass stuck out of his cheeks and arms. His eyes were hollow, sunken, tormented. He stared at me. I spun around. Nothing. When I looked back, the mirror was clear. Just me. Then the lights went out. A breath, cold and close. Something moaned right next to my ear. I ran. I didn't tell anyone the next day. Felt stupid. Around lunch, I was reviewing printouts when one of the older women from accounts stopped at my desk. She just looked at the chair. "First week?" she asked. I nodded. "They didn't tell you," she said. "He sat there. Man named Aiden. 3 years ago. Divorce hit him hard. Came in drunk one night, argued with his ex on the phone for hours." She paused. The next morning, we found the window shattered and the body. I blinked. She looked at the screen. You know what today is, right? I didn't. Tomorrow's the anniversary. She moved on without another word. I logged off early that day. As I walked past the toilets again, I tried not to look, but the door was ajar. Slightly. Just enough. A soft sound came from inside. A clink. Glass. Just nudged. Against my better judgment, I stepped closer, just enough to peek inside. Sitting on the sink was something I hadn't seen before. It looked like a heart, human-sized, old, dried. But what caught my breath was what pierced it. Thick shards of glass, jutting out at odd angles like a crown of agony. Blood had long dried around the wounds, black and sticky, but the heart pulsed and glowed once. I backed away slowly. Whatever it was, it hadn't been there before. It was put there, and it was waiting. The next day, they held a small gathering at the office. Just a few of us. Somber, quiet. A tray of supermarket pastries and a folded memorial card with Aiden's photo, yellowing at the edges. Someone said a few words. No one spoke much after. Most people had gone home when I found myself by the windows, watching the streetlights blink on. The glass reflected the office behind me. Dim, deserted, shadows stretched long. Then I saw him, standing beside me, not moving, not speaking, just there, shards still jutting from his face, eyes hollow, watching me through the reflection. I turned slowly. No one. But I didn't feel alone. As I stood there, chilled and unmoving, one thought crept in like a whisper. Will he be with me forever?
It was my first day. I'd arrived early, a little too overdressed, clutching a folder of onboarding forms like a kid on their first school run. HR told me to head to level 4, so I hit the button. The elevator started up fine, but halfway there, it gave a weird little jolt. The digital display glitched, flickering between 8 and 9 like it couldn't make up its mind. Then it dinged and the doors opened. No floor signage, no people, just a long corridor, bare pipes overhead. Blank walls, flickering lights. A few outdated desks were scattered around like leftover junk from a forgotten renovation. One of them had a plastic Easter bunny on it. Cheap, faded, wrong somehow. Its smile was creepy. Parts of it looked melted. I stepped out, thinking maybe I'd ended up in some storage space. I turned back to the elevator, the doors were still open. I hit the call button. Nothing. Panel was lit, but none of the buttons worked. The elevator just sat there, quiet, dead. The place was too big, too empty. Every corner opened into another stretch of dull carpet, sagging ceiling tiles, or scuffed linoleum. A few desks shoved up against the walls like they'd been left behind.
No windows, no signs. Just the same headache yellow lighting and dead air. Then I saw it, in what looked like a break area, a bouncy castle, fully inflated.
Red and blue, humming softly like it was alive. It looked used, out of place in a way I couldn't explain. No footprints, no pump, no reason. And something was moving inside it. A soft thump, rhythmic, like it was breathing. I didn't get closer. I just kept walking, faster. I turned a corner and spotted a meeting room, all glass. Inside were rows of identical white plastic chairs, but they weren't facing the table. They were all turned facing each other. At the front, a little CRT television sat on a hospital-style trolley, chipped paint, rubber wheels, and all. The screen played an old show, a puppet dancing to unheard music. Then the picture cut out, static, and for a blink, something else. A cartoonish shape, crosses for eyes. Then it was gone too quick to catch any other detail. Just as I turned to leave, one of the chairs tilted slightly forward, like someone had just stood up. I didn't wait. I turned and walked in the other direction as quickly as I could. That's when I heard it. A clacking sound, low and mechanical. I followed it, thinking it might lead to a way out. On the way, it was the same gray walls, same neutral nothingness. Then I found the room. Long tables, rows of old ribbon printers, the kind that scream when they run, dot matrix beasts still clinging to life. Each one was printing, endless sheets of paper spewed out, those perforated edge pages with the tear-off holes. No words, just rows of X's, dots, slashes, but arranged in a way that made images, skulls, crude and pixelated. The kind of thing a bored kid might make on a basic drawing program, but they weren't identical. Every skull was just a little off. The more I looked, the worse they got. I tried to head back, past the bouncy castle, the meeting room, the sad little desks, but the floor plan was wrong now. Corridors where there shouldn't be, walls where doors had been. The further I walked, the more I began to notice papers stuck on the walls. Same kind of paper from the printers. Taped up, random, uneven. At first a few, then a dozen, then dozens. Each showed one of those strange skulls, some wide-eyed, some smirking, some with red symbols drawn across their foreheads. One was soaked in something, one was torn. They were everywhere. I followed them, past locked doors, past familiar-looking halls that suddenly led nowhere. Then, I heard it. A slow, heavy thump, getting closer. I turned. Nothing. Just paper rustling. That was it. I ran. I kept running. The lights, the paper, the skulls, everything started blurring. Then, a voice. "Stay where you are. Someone will meet you." Crackling through an old speaker overhead, one of those yellowed ceiling intercoms, I stopped. Moments later, he appeared. A security guard, but not one I'd seen before. He wore a padded uniform, a matte black visor. Around his neck, a thick collar like something from a hazmat suit. On his chest was a badge, circular, smooth. It glowed faintly. A white stylized skull etched into it. Simple, sharp, pulsing like a heartbeat. He didn't say a word, just gestured for me to follow. And as we walked, it was like everything had reset. No papers, no bouncy castle, just a deflated heap in the corner. The meeting room was empty. The hallways were quiet. We reached the elevator. He pressed the button. Doors opened. We stepped in together. The badge on his chest still glowing. The lift hummed and descended. When the doors opened into the lobby, everything looked normal, bright, ordinary. The receptionist typed away. A printer hummed softly. The guard walked off, silent. Behind me, the elevator dinged again.
It's not glamorous, but it's quiet. When the day staff clock out and the lights dim, it's just me. The hum of the vending machine and a wall of CCTV monitors blinking the same dull loops. You learn the rhythm of it. The cleaner on level 2 who always forgets her pass. The intern who sneaks out early. The guy in finance who never logs off. The place runs itself, mostly. Probably why no one noticed what I did. It started with camera 13. It pointed at a copy room, part of an office outside. Nothing special. Gray walls, cheap carpet, worn-out furniture. Then one night the feed flickered, just for a second, but it changed. Same office, but the lighting was colder. A chair was moving erratically, and there was a dark, wet patch on the carpet. I blinked, rewound the footage. Nothing, just static. Then normal again. I figured it was a glitch. 2 days later, same flicker, same moving chair, same wet patch. 5 minutes after that, the finance guy ran down the hallway shouting. The copier had overheated and caught fire. I grabbed the extinguisher and ran towards the fire. In the office, I kicked a chair out of the way and tackled the fire. Black ink was all over the floor. They said I reacted fast, that I saved the office, but I didn't. I'd seen it before. After that, I started watching camera 13 like a hawk. The flickers came once or twice a week. Always subtle. A shadow where there wasn't one. A door slightly open. A paper tray suddenly empty. Then came the laptop. One night I saw it sitting unattended near the exit. Nobody nearby. A flicker. And it was gone. 10 minutes later, someone swiped it. Security footage didn't help. No faces, no ID. That's when it clicked. Camera 13 didn't glitch. It predicted. And I started paying attention. Then it got weirder. One night, camera 13 flickered again. But it wasn't level 3. It wasn't anywhere. Tiled walls, harsh strip lighting. A man hunched over the sink, gripping the edges like they were holding him upright. One hand to his chest, eyes wide, face pale. Then the image snapped back to the usual hallway. Only this time, I knew where I'd seen it. The men's washroom. But there aren't any cameras in there. Not legally. And yet I saw it. I hesitated. A couple seconds, maybe more. Because this wasn't spilled toner or stolen hardware. This was a man about to die. And if I told someone what I saw, how would I explain it? I saw it on a ghost camera feed. I'd be out the door before the ambulance even showed up. But if I didn't act, he'd be dead. So I made something up. Said I heard coughing, grabbed the defib and ran. Found him in the far stall, barely breathing. They said I saved his life. Even mentioned putting me up for a commendation. But I couldn't stop thinking, what if next time I hesitated longer? After that, I stopped watching the other cameras. Only 13 mattered now. It became a kind of ritual. Coffee in one hand, eyes fixed on the feed. But what it showed started changing. Chairs turned to face the walls. Elevators that opened on empty shafts. Meeting rooms full of people who weren't really there. Once I saw a woman walking backward through the atrium, mouth stretched in a silent scream. The worst one? Shadows. A waterfall of them. Human-shaped figures tumbling through the ceiling, through the floor. Hundreds. Some flickered and vanished halfway. Others just kept falling, like the building had no bottom. One stopped near the edge of the frame. It tilted its head toward the lens. Didn't blink. Didn't move. Just stared. Then the feed went dead. When it came back, empty hallway, that was the moment I knew. I wasn't seeing the future anymore. I was seeing something else. It was just after 3 a.m. The vending machine made its usual snap. Predictable. Comforting. Camera 13 flickered. The hallway looked dimmer. Yellowed. Like film left in the sun. Something was on the floor. I leaned in. A body. Face down. Still. Familiar. The clothes. Mine. I waited. Maybe it was someone else. Maybe I was wrong. But then the view shifted, and I saw the face. My face. Flies crawled from the collar, buzzed around the eyes. One wing twitched in the static. My skin looked wrong. Gray. Pasty. Stiff. Then the body moved. Its head turned toward the camera, toward me. Blank. Empty. And then nothing. The feed cut to black. I hit every button, every switch. Static. When the sun came up, I walked out. Didn't clock out, didn't say a word, and I never went back.
Another entry, filed and forgotten. But these things don't stay buried. I'll be here when the next one surfaces.